Hello everyone, my name is John Parker117 and welcome back to another episode in the world of Doodle Empires. Today we are going to be playing the North Sea map, and you may be wondering which side are we playing on because this map is way too big for one video. Well, I've decided to split it in half and we're going to do one video in the North Sea with Vikings and one video in the Baltic with Baltic people. So yeah, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe, and if you want to see more Doodle Empires, leave me a comment and a like and a subscribe and all that stuff down below. Let's hit 1,000 likes for the next Doodle Empires video, and yeah, let's get started. So as always, we start off the play zone for this. I'm declaring it's this coastline right here. We got Denmark, we got, I'm gonna say the west half of Sweden, Norway, the UK, Ireland, Iceland, and you know what, for fuck's sake, let's technically have this in the playing field. But yeah, first country, you know what, let's start tried and true. We just start straight in the middle. We're just gonna start with Holland. The Netherlands has risen out of the depths of the ocean, and surely they won't get absolutely destroyed by Vikings. And they immediately get a medium expand. So what they're gonna do is they're going to go across to the river. They're going to take some of Germany up to the river, or they're going to try to. I overestimated how much they could have. But anyway, let's see what they get next. Another medium expand. Okay, the game recognizes my mistake and lets me actually finish it out. And we are going to get a smaller brush size so we can just have them go up to the river. And that's how much they take. And, okay, they get another medium expand. They're just gonna edge out their borders a little bit, and okay, a small expand. At least we know that it's not stuck on medium expand. Can I get a new nation? Yes, we can. And of course, the theme of this video is Vikings, so we need to have the Vikings show up at some point. But we're gonna have nations show up first. So we're gonna have let's make Normandy. Make Normandy purple. So yeah, we got Normandy here. They're gonna take the Channel Islands, and then of course Normandy. I don't know what else you think they would take. All up into here. So yeah, we got Holland, and I'm being yelled at in the chat that it's Holland does not equal Netherlands, so we're gonna name it, I don't know, Big Holland. So now it has an excuse. Yeah, now we got Big Holland and Normandy. Oh my god, the leader is John. I lead Normandy. Okay, Normandy has to do good, guys. We got Gregor and John leading Normandy. I didn't even name that. Anyway, who gets a turn? Big Holland. New nation forms, which, you know, we're gonna have Cornwall form. There we go. The Kingdom, or whatever, of Cornwall. So slowly, nations are starting to fill out the map. Oh no, Holland gets a large expand. Okay, so what they're going to do, they love the rivers, so they're going to try and go up to this river, which they succeed in doing, just barely. And they take some islands, because they love that. And there you go. So Big Holland is absolutely dominating right now. Cornwall gets a small expand. They're just gonna go outwards a little bit. I can't really go that far. What does this mean? It's just lock. I don't know what that means. Let's give Normandy a turn. Small expand. Let's just expand the frontier a little bit. Big Holland, small expand. Just expand the frontier. Cornwall again. A large expand. Now they've decided they're gonna go on their first adventure. They're gonna take over Brittany. At least a little bit. There's still a little bit of the tribes left, but it's okay. Cornwall gets another turn. Oh no! Brittany immediately splits off. So yeah, now we got Brittany splitting off, or like a Bretonian revolt. So they're now at war. Big Holland gets another expand. Oh no. They're just gonna take up to here, and we're gonna institute a rule that a country isn't allowed to go twice in a row, because I think that was a problem with the last time. Not everyone got, like, not a lot of people didn't get turns because it randomly chose like the same country 5 times. Anyway, Normandy, a small expand. They're gonna take the Isle of Wight just so they can control the little strait right here, and then they'll just expand their frontier a little bit. All right, Brittany gets a turn, and Brittany splits into better Brittany. No, I'm not out of jokes. So yeah, the Brittany is like, the revolt can't decide what they want to be, so they're fighting. Big Holland, a medium. Please stop it. The Dutch people are too strong. I don't want this to just be Dutch. This is supposed to be about Vikings, not Dutch people. Anyway, Brittany, a small expand. Do they take out Cornwall, or do they take out the revolt of the revolt? They decide to go after Cornwall a little bit. Normandy gets a turn. and a new nation forms. We'll have England start. They're gonna have to show up eventually. So they'll start around London, and they'll take East Anglia. England is here. Well, Normandy technically didn't go. It was a new nation, so they can go again. Medium expand. They're just gonna expand their frontier again. There's not really many places for them to go. Brittany gets a turn. And they split again into Britney Spears. There we go, Britney Spears. And it's literally one person, so it's not gonna be that big of a revolt. So yeah, now we got Britney Spears by herself right here, led by Vladimir. Oh no, Vladimir Putin's interfering in politics once again. She's interfering in Britney Spears. Anyway, England gets a turn. England decides to do a union through a royal marriage, or, well, William the Conqueror basically shows up. He shows up in AD 21, and he decides to conquer Normandy and form, well, it's already called England. We'll change the leader to William. There we go. The short reign of John the Norman has ended. England is now really powerful. Britney Spears gets a turn, except she doesn't because a new nation forms. Let's have the Isle of Man show up. A very peculiar nation because they're only interested in like coastal provinces and coastline. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Better Brittany gets a turn, and Better Brittany splits into Worse Brittany. They weren't really good at it that time. So yeah, the Brittany Civil War is just absolutely raging. Millions are dying. Anyway, Better Brittany already got a turn. Oh god, Big Holland. Oh phew, a new nation forms. And I guess we'll complete the, well, not complete because Scotland isn't here, but or Wales, but we'll have Ireland show up. Did I actually name it? No, I didn't name it. Lol. Ireland. The Isle of Man gets a turn, and they immediately split into, well, Wales decides to split off. But Wales is literally only this island, so it's not too good. Brittany gets a turn, and they get a medium expand. They absolutely crush the revolts. And do they kick Cornwall out of Brittany? Yes. And they also take more of this. But they have forgotten about Britney Spears, who's just sitting here with a rifle, just waiting. Cornwall gets a turn, a medium expand. He's just gonna expand over here and along the river a little bit. Wales gets a turn, a new nation forms, and rumors from the east of a scary, scary place. A place not known by anyone. A place I'm having a hard time thinking of a color for. Horrors. The first Viking empire has formed in Oslo, in Norway. And in a little bit down here, and they take some islands and they hop off a little bit there. So the Vikings, I'll give them a turn. They get a small expand, they connect their territories here, and they just immediately start conquering into there. The mountains are harder to conquer than the white territory, so it's gonna take the Vikings a while, but they will arrive eventually. Cornwall gets a small expand. They don't want to fight Britain just yet, so they just sneak up to the border. They just sneak up to the border. And Big Holland gets a turn. They get a medium expand. They love their rivers, so let's just expand them to the river. And Big Holland is pretty big, tell you that. Cornwall, small expand. They solve the border with Britain, and then they're just gonna go along here. Wales is not happy about this, but no one cares what Wales thinks. Brittany decides to do a union with Britney Spears after saying that they'll tolerate her music if they give their territory to them. So that was the end of Britney Spears. Brittany doesn't get to go again. Cornwall, a small expand. They decide to just keep going. Brittany, a new nation forms. And rumors from the north of another Viking territory. Viking sea raiders have shown up in Jan Mayen, and they've just made landfall in the Faroe Islands, Shetland, and Orkney, and this island. They love islands, but their main base of operations is the east of Iceland, with all the population centers that exist there. First Viking Empire, and now the Viking Sea Raiders. Now, are they allies? Who knows? No one knows. Yeah, the Vikings are coming. A new nation is formed. I don't know how to include Svalbard. It's just so far away. A new nation forms. The Vikings decide to make a short little colonization attempt down here, and they call it Jorvik. So, the Vikings now have 3 states. The Viking Sea Raiders, Jorvik, and the first Viking Empire. Big Holland gets a turn, and they get a medium expand. Wow, who could have thought it? I guess they'll just go to the next, I guess they'll just start going to the next river. There's more rivers to, oh my god, there's so many rivers. You know what, I'll make an exception for, because I was originally not going to go into the Baltic, but I'll make an exception for Big Holland just going to each river. Jorvik gets a turn. They get a small expand. Now, they are aggressive, but they can't really get that far because of the mountains. Isle of Man, terrified. They have a small split. And Scotland forms. Not with not a lot of land, but we'll give them a turn. And Scotland immediately has a small split into Notland. And we'll give Notland a turn. Who has a small expand, they kill Scotland, and they push into the Isle of Man's territory. So now we have Notland, whose color is a little bit problematic because it's the same color as the ocean now. So now we got Notland, and I guess Notland gets another turn. Well, a new nation forms. You know, I'll just bite the bullet. The Empire of Svalbard has formed up here. Now, will they be able to conquer all of Svalbard? Probably not. Wales gets a turn. They get a medium expand. They can finally get off of their island, and they start going down. Cornwall. Cornwall has a small split. So, the independent Welsh army, who splits off in the Welsh lands, and also this island. So now Cornwall's at war with that. Jorvik gets a turn. A new nation forms. A horrible, horrible disaster has struck from the very south of the known world. Fraant. A strange nation called Fraant has joined. Very mysterious. Their weird culture and cultural ambition are terrifying. They are a desert nomad republic. Jorvik gets a turn, and Jorvik has a small split. Now, the Vikings that are here, they aren't having a good time because they want to be peaceful. They're peace-loving Vikings smiley face. They're peace-loving Vikings smiley face. And so they rise up, and hopefully they just hope Jorvik will leave them alone. Wales gets a turn. A new nation has formed. And you know, I mean, if I think about it, this wouldn't be a John Parker 117 Doodle Empires video without it. So I gotta find a place to put them. The required Republic of Israel. There we go. They always have to show up. Why are they in Ireland? I don't know. And this is more like it. This is the trait I would expect. This is the trait I would expect from Israel. And if they get a turn, and they immediately split into the... we won't be creative this time. What is that Palestine breakaway? In very suspicious borders, too. I wonder where I've seen this before. Anyway, will the two-state solution hold out? I have no idea. It's in Ireland this time, so anything could happen. Jorvik gets a turn. Small expand. They absolutely just slaughter all the peaceful Vikings. It's really sad. The required Republic of Israel. A new nation forms. Oh yeah, I forgot to turn it off. Fuck. Our last new nation, while it's all the way up, while it's 8 out of 10 on the likely scale. You know, we'll just make Ireland into the Middle East now that I think about it. So now we got Lebanon to the north. Actually, we're not going to try and do it by location because that would be impossible. All right, we got Lebanon, Israel, and Palestine. If we get any new nations, we will create our vision of Middle Eastern Ireland. A new nation. All right, okay. Syria. And they added this new mechanic where if you hold shift, it doesn't paint over other people's territory. So that's pretty cool. All right. We got Syria now, and Ireland must be really confused. England finally gets a turn. They do a small expand. They decide to attack Cornwall while they're weak to try and get a land connection to the Isle of Wight. And then Wales. Wales splits into Wales, a republic of literal sea creatures. How will the sea creatures do now that they're on land? Probably not well. Oh, Svalbard gets a turn, and they have a split. I don't have anything creative enough for you, Svalbard, so I'll just name it fucking Svalbard. You better not do that thing with Gaul and Maya. That better not happen. Big Holland gets a turn. Oh my god, finally. Big Holland splits into mediocre Belgium. Yeah, we're gonna be able to paint a lot of territory. See, mediocre Belgium has hit the scene, taking a little bit of the Netherlands proper. And the first Viking Empire finally gets a turn. And they small expand. We're just gonna get to the coast so they can prepare for raids. 'Cause I'm not gonna have them take all of Norway or something. They're gonna start raiding immediately. Ireland gets a turn. A new nation form. We got Turkey. All right, now we got Turkey, Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Israel. The sea creatures get a turn. They do a medium expand. They absolutely kick the shit out of Wales, and Wales is capitulated. I don't know how they're doing it, but they also push into the Welsh army. Big Holland gets a turn. They do a medium expand. They don't care about Belgium. They care about one thing and one thing only, and that's those rivers, baby. So they're just going. They need the rivers. Turkey gets a turn. They do a medium expand into Ireland, and Ireland's like, what the fuck? Why are Turks invading my nation? Current event. England gets a turn. Medium expand. They expand further into Cornwall and try and separate them from the Irish independent army. They don't want Ireland to be they don't want Wales to be independent either. If they separate them, that means Cornwall won't get it. Turkey gets another turn, and Turkey splits. And I'm sorry, Turks, into Kurdistan. Kurdistan shows up in Ulster. So the Middle East is shaping up very nicely, with Ireland there too. The peace-loving Vikings get a turn, and they split. Evil-loving Vikings to the evil Viking. Cornwall finally gets a turn, and they do a large expand. They're pissed. England is going to suffer for what they've done, and they get pushed back hella. And they even take some of the islands and land on Normandy. England, facing the pressure, absolutely caves in. They have a small split. Who else could lead the English Revolution than Margaret? There we go. So Margaret Thatcher has appeared along the east. And well, Margaret Thatcher, you can't match her. She's the darling of us all. She's the curse of the Irish nation. Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. First Viking Empire, a small expand, and now it's time. It's time for them to start their raids. They take advantage of the peace-loving Vikings in their little sad state, and they invade over there. Jorvik is pissed because that's their land, but they also land down here, raid Margaret Thatcher, as well as getting a little setup here in Europe. Lebanon gets a turn. Lebanon splits. Oh god. Into Hezbollah. There we go. There's a little Hezbollah right next to Israel. Surely they won't do anything about that. England gets a turn. England splits again. It's just, they just can't deal with it. They split into Nigel Farage. Up the raw, Nigel. So yeah, it's a proper English civil war. He even gets a little bit of Normandy. The sea creatures get a turn. No, the sea creatures split into the Crab Nation. The Crab Nation has risen up. They look exactly like the Irish Independent Army, but, I mean, the Welsh. They look like the Welsh. Well, the Welsh look like crabs, or the crabs look like the Welsh, depending on who you ask. Svalbard gets a... fine. Hate Svalbard. Ireland gets a turn. Ireland splits. They just really don't understand what's going on. And they split into Jordan pops out of them. So not even their own territory is safe. England gets a turn. A new nation is formed. And of course, that means we get to add another one of these. You get Iraq. Iraq's kind of big. Kurdistan gets a turn. And Kurdistan splits into Assyria. So yeah, now we got Assyria here. The sea creatures get a turn. They do a medium expand. They absolutely kick the shit out of the crabs, and then they start hobbling on the Welsh. The Viking Sea Raiders, they immediately have a split. The Scottish Freedom Army has appeared. They look just like the ocean, but it's okay. But the Viking Sea Raiders get a turn, but they medium expand. Can they take them out? No. Notland gets a turn. They do a medium expand. They kick the Isle of Man out, and then they expand a little bit more into the interior. The Scottish Freedom Army does a large expand to try and kick out the raiders from mainland Scotland, and they almost succeed. Notland gets another turn, and they get a large expand, and they go up. They're allied with the Scottish Liberation Army, so this is why they're able to get really good coverage, because they're teaming up. The Viking Empire has a small split. No, but this isn't a normal small split. This is an administrative zone split. Viking France has appeared, a puppet of the Viking Empire. Brittany finally gets a turn, and they split again into Franceny. The France has spreaded. Isle of Man gets a turn. A large expand. They're pissed off, but they don't really want to go after Notland because they're scary. They decide to just pick on the small guys, the sea creatures, but again, they only care about the coast, so they also go into Assyria, and they take a little bit, but they realize they're in a very, very precarious position, so they need to get out of here. So after securing this strait right here, they sail up, and they go to Iceland. So yeah, now the Isle of Man is, they're still trying to hold on over here, but they have an escape. Nigel Farage gets a turn, has a small split. I'm running out of English politicians, I know. Oh yeah, the Cabbage that outlasted Liz Truss. The Cabbage that outlasted Liz Truss now controls London. Ireland gets a turn, another small split into Kuwait. Mediocre Belgium gets a turn. A new nation forms, which means we go over here once again. Saudi Arabia. It's easy. Saudi Arabia looks suspiciously like Ireland. I might change that. There we go. Now it just looks like Palestine. Shit. Running out of colors. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the Ireland is just its own masterpiece, really. Isle of Man gets a turn. Medium expand, they conquer more of Iceland. Nigel Farage gets a turn. A new nation forms. We're running out of space on Ireland. Iran. England gets a turn. A large expand. They need to retake basically everything. But they make a fatal mistake. They take Nigel Farage out here. They kick Cornwall out of here so they have Normandy as like a base. But they poke the bear with the Vikings. And then, of course, they go into Margaret Thatcher and Nigel Farage. Inexplicably avoiding the Cabbage. I don't know why they did that. First Viking Empire responds by, well, splitting. They have a Danish revolt. Danish revolt right here. So the First Viking Empire isn't really doing that hot. Palestine gets a turn, and they split into Gaza. Could name it something else, but I don't feel like it. Syria gets a turn. A large expand. They expand into the last remaining territory in Ireland. Ireland is now filled up with Middle Eastern nations. Middle Easterners have conquered Ireland. Notland gets a turn. New nation formed. Well, we don't have anywhere in Ireland left, so we might as well have Norway show up. They're probably not going to do that much. Turkey, large expand. They just crush Kurdistan again. Empire of Svalbard, small split into Svalbard 4. Why does this always happen? Also, you need to be green. The Viking Sea Raiders get a turn, and they decide, oh god, we're dying. They decide to do a union with the First Viking Empire, because the Vikings aren't really doing too hot. So they unite, and they just become the Second Viking Empire. God, I'm running out of colors. The Second Viking Empire has formed. The Cabbage that outlived Liz Truss is on, and they have a small split into mold, because it's starting to mold. It's been a long time, guys, since Liz Truss got ousted. You gotta be real here. There's gonna be some mold. Just a little bit, though. You could cut around it and still have a good old Cabbage. Just kidding, don't do that. Gaza gets a turn, and they split. What are they gonna split into? I guess they split into Trump Gaza. Why not? Trump got his wish. He gets to have Gaza now. This little island right here, all his. Brittany gets a turn. Large expand, they can finally do it. They kick out Franceny and they unite their area. They finally did it. Brittany did it. They take the Channel Islands and they're satisfied. Hezbollah gets a turn. They do a union with Lebanon. So now it's just Hezbollah Banon. Hezbollah Banon. The Cabbage gets a turn. Small expand. They conquer Nigel Farage. Can't do anything about the mold, though. It's unfortunate. And he also tries to cut off England from the Isle of Wight and, like, the area around it, and they are able to do it. The Cabbage is thriving. Independent Welsh Army does a medium expand. They just try and make Wales into... They don't want to fight anyone anymore. They just want to make Wales as small as they can, or just have it exist at this point. Oh wait, Franceny is still a thing. They have one province. Well, do they make a comeback? Yes, they do. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry, Franceny, but it's time. They may not be able to take all of it, but Franceny is back. The one pixel save that we always love to see in these videos. Franceny does not get another turn. Syria gets a turn. Small split. Oh. God. Fuck it. ISIS shows up again, this time with the right country in mind. No, the Middle Easterns and Ireland is like, oh shit. France gets a turn. Large expand. That's not good. Well, at least they're kind of like off in their own world. Viking France gets a turn. Medium expand. They just go slowly out. Hezbollah Lebanon does a small expand. They know better than to go after Israel, so they expand into Syria. And they now border ISIS. Now, is Hezbollah Lebanon and ISIS going to team up? I don't know. Empire of Svalbard. It's like they save it just for fucking this. Svalbard 5. Sounds like a spy organization or some shit. Mold gets a turn. And mold splits into, I don't know, what's a worse version of mold? AIDS. We got AIDS. AIDS has hit the map. AIDS gets a turn. And AIDS, God, what's worse than AIDS? I don't know. Just death. Okay, so now we got Cabbage, mold, AIDS, death. A proper timeline, if you will. Iraq gets a turn. Small split into ISIS again. I'm sorry, like, it's not me. It's not me. The game is doing this, guys. It's forcing me to do this. Iran gets a turn. Now, they don't like ISIS that much, so they take out this ISIS, but they also invade Iraq and Syria. Cornwall has a split again to Iowa. Iowa shows up because they sense the corn, and they're like, ooh, nice corn. And they take the corn. Big Holland gets a turn. a large expand. You know what it means. They get to reach the next river. What a grand achievement. Independent Welsh army does a medium expand into the sea creatures, and they absolutely destroy them. Notland does a medium expand up, and they're getting closer and closer to unifying Scotland with their buddies up here in the Scottish Freedom Army. The Cabbage gets a turn. They get a large expand, and in one fell swoop, they take out mold, AIDS, and death. The Cabbage that beat death. And they also expand into Britain. And, well, they can take a lot, so Britain may be fucked. Yeah, Britain's fucked. Margaret Thatcher's fucked as well. The Cabbage rules all. Cornwall's fucked. Iowa's fucked. It is now Cabbage Empire. Again, game developer, if you're watching this, please make it so the names show up. That would make it so much easier for me. I think it would be a really good addition if the names like hoy forward its way across the nation. Maybe not for really small ones, okay? Like, I understand if you don't want Trump Gaza to be over, like, these 8 provinces. But like this, it should say Cabbage Empire. I mean, come on. Saudi Arabia gets a turn, and they do a union. Oh, this is cursed. They do a union with Iran. This would happen in real life, guys. Cornwall does a medium expand. They absolutely kick the shit out of Iowa. And they kill them, they murder them, and they advance into Wales a little bit. England, which is now just Normandy, does a medium expand. They're scared of the Cabbage. I'll be honest, I'd be scared of the Cabbage too. So they just retake the Channel Islands, and they just decide they're gonna focus on Normandy for now. Scottish Freedom Army, large expand, they kick the Vikings out. They even take Shetland, and they connect with their brothers in Notland. ISIS gets a turn, and they do a medium expand. Wow, could never expect it. France gets a turn, small split, thank God. Now, what's the only thing that could come out of France? Like, what's something that could come out of France? The Antichrist. The Antichrist has spawned. All right. Ireland gets a turn and do a small expand. They decide to come to terms with the fact their country is literally just the Middle East, and they decide to fight ISIS too. Trump Gaza gets a turn. Medium expand. They're going to take out normal Gaza. So Trump now has a firm hold on the Ireland. And you know what? They do the most unthinkable thing of all time. They invade Israel. ISIS gets a turn, because of course they do. Medium expand, they slaughter their way across the Middle East, and now it's just a battle royale for who gets Ireland. Palestine gets a turn. Medium expand, they decide to fight ISIS as well. Palestine gets another turn, even though they weren't supposed to, I forgot. But ISIS is just getting destroyed. ISIS gets a turn. Medium expand, they go up into Hezbollah, Lebanon, and then down into Ireland. They need to secure their position. Trump Gaza does a union with Israel. Of course they do. Because of course they do. Trump Gaza does a union with Israel. What else did you think was gonna happen? This is now Trump Israel. Ireland gets a turn. Do a small expand back into ISIS. Turkey, small expand. They expand into ISIS. ISIS is just like getting jumped. They jump in me! They jump in me! Second Viking Empire, small expand. Well, they're pissed at Jorvik, so they keep trying to push into Jorvik. Notland, medium expand. They're not going to hurt their brothers in Scotland. Viking France gets another turn. Viking France split. Retconned. Actually, you know what? Fine. They split into retconned. That's meta if I've ever fucking seen it. Franceny gets a turn. Large expand. Oh no, Brittany's done. I'm so sorry, Brittany. Oh yeah, Franceny has united all of Brittany. ISIS gets a turn. Medium expand. They don't care anymore. They're just fucking attacking everything. Franceny gets a turn. Small expand. They start fighting England for some reason. I don't know why. Palestine. Large expand, and they do it. They're the ones who are able to absolutely destroy and murder ISIS. So ISIS is not like the first video. ISIS was defeated. I didn't have to like cheat to kill ISIS in this video, as opposed to the first video. But they also go up into Hezbollah, Lebanon. Iraq gets a turn. They push up into Trump Israel because they just know that that's a horrible concept. Trump Israel, pissed off. They George Bush their way into Iraq. Now, France could take out the Antichrist right now, but they hate one thing more than the Antichrist, and that's England. Ireland, medium expand. Now, Ireland's starting to get pissed off with all these Middle Eastern countries. Attack into Turkey. They attack down into Syria. Iraq gets another turn, and they split. And guess who's fucking back? It's ISIS. Saudi Arabia, they take out ISIS immediately. The second ISIS did not last long, and they push into Jordan. Jorvik gets another turn, and they decide to, you know what, they decide to put aside their differences. The Vikings, they were the focal point of this video, but the spotlight's being stolen from them by Cabbages and Middle Eastern Irelands and whatever the fuck Holland is. So they decide to unite. So yeah, Jorvik is now kind of big. Ireland gets a turn. Small expand. They take out Syria and they push into Palestine. The Antichrist. Small expand. Cornwall gets a turn. Small expand. They try to retake the coast and they're successful. And they try to retake the Channel Islands. They don't dare mess with this fucking Cabbage. They just push up a little right there. The Cabbage Empire has a small split. Someone left the refrigerator open and mold 2 has started growing. Just all over the place. Oh god, it's disgusting. Oh no, my beautiful Cabbage Empire. It's all moldy. No. Valbard 5. I don't even care that I spelled it wrong. Antichrist gets a turn. Medium expand. They take Paris, but France doesn't care because there's English people to kill. Cornwall gets another turn. Another small split. And you know what? Channel Islands are sick and tired of being tossed around by Brittany, England, France, and Cornwall, that they make their own republic. Surely nothing's going to happen to it. The Mold 2 expands. Well, the mold just spreads. Channel Islands get a turn, and of course they fucking split. The TV Islands. Channel Islands get a turn, small expand, they take out the TV Islands, and they take the Isle of Wight, and that's all they do, because the Cabbage are weak. Viking France, they take out the retconned, and they have a pretty good position. Denmark does a union with Norway, and they form Sweden. Scottish Freedom Army, small expand. They unite more of Scotland. England gets a turn, small expand. They try to take out France. Jordan gets a turn. A small split. What would Jordan split into? You know, this one's a personal choice, but Jebel Shamar is here now. Franceny, small expand. They go up into here. Independent Welsh Army, small expand. They try and retake some of their southern coast, and they are successful. Channel Islands, they split again into the why do you suck so much islands. And it's a civil war between the Channel Islands and the why do you suck so much islands. Antichrist gets a turn. They do a union with France because, you know, Cabbage Empire gets a turn. Is this their chance to unmold themselves? Well, kind of. They're able to do some small expands, and they are able to kick out a lot of it. Medium expand for Saudi Arabia. They just go straight into Jordan. Sea creatures get a turn. They kick out the Isle of Man, and they push down into the other Wales. Scottish Freedom Army, small expand. Take more of Scotland. Mold 2 gets a turn, and they have a small split. Well, I guess there's only one thing they could split into, and it's AIDS 2. So AIDS 2 has hit the scene. Cabbage Empire immediately takes advantage of this and takes out AIDS 2 and also takes out the mold. So the Cabbage Empire has still survived. They wrestle the Isle of Wight back, and they continue marching up here. They actually get a lot of land. Like, this is a medium expand. What the hell is wrong with this? Okay, I guess they're just goated. Why are they able to take so much? Well, anyway, I guess they burst into Cornwall. Yeah, the Cabbage Empire is doing pretty good for itself. The why do you suck so much islands get a turn, and apparently they don't suck anymore because they expand. They take basically all of the coast up here, and Franceny is not looking too hot now, and they've been upgraded to the W Islands. We get a W Islands for the islands in the chat. W Islands get a turn, and they split. Never mind on the W Islands. Never mind. They suck again. The L Islands. The L Islands will be AIDS colored. Saudi Arabia gets a medium expand. They're just like the underdogs. They're just quietly eating all these guys up. Wales? Wales decides that, you know, the Cabbage Empire is really scary. They might just be the biggest nation on the map. Well, except for this monstrosity, but we don't talk about that. Cabbage Empire might be the most strong nation on the map. So they reach out to the other Wales for an equal state for sea creatures and Welsh people alike. And they accept. And they form just normal Wales. Hopefully this will help them stand against the Cabbage Empire. Probably not. Palestine splits again. I'm running out of jokes. Retconned. I'm sorry. I'm out of jokes. I don't know what to do. Okay, Jorvik, medium expand. Now, they have two horrible choices. Well, first off, they take these two provinces. The Cabbage Empire would probably slap their head in, and Scotland, probably the weaker of the two. So you know what they do? They attack both. They attack into this area right here, because they aren't very smart. They're Vikings, after all. Belgium gets a turn, and small split into mediocre Wallonia, and then we'll rename this one to mediocre Flanders. Yeah, mediocre Flanders and mediocre Wallonia. Very unfortunate, or fortunate, depending on your opinion on Belgium. Ireland splits again to Northern Ireland, but Northern Ireland's in the south. I don't know why. I don't know why they decided to do that. The W Islands. Okay, W Islands once again in the chat, for they have taken out the L Islands and they are actually going to take out France. So W Islands once again in the chat, please. They're also going to start attacking into England. Cornwall gets a turn. They do a medium expand. They just try and take out. They try their hardest, really, to contest the Cabbage Empire, but it's just not going to work. A medium expand. Well, Cornwall and Wales and Jorvik, I guess, are teaming up against the Cabbage Empire, so they're just gonna start chipping away at them. Trump Israel gets a turn. They have a small split into J.D. Vance Palestine. Spawns over here because J.D. Vance was like, I want my own state, and Trump was like, no. He's like, ah. Isle of Man, small split, retconned, no joke available. Trump Israel, medium expand. He absolutely curb stomps J.D. Vance, and he pushes into Saudi Arabia. Big Holland, small expand. They slowly make their way over to the next river. This one's going to be difficult. Very far away river. And I don't know who this is, but it's Palestine. Okay, Palestine decides to try and retake all their lost territory with a large expand, which suits them very well because they're able to do it. And who the hell is this again? Ireland, Northern... Oh yeah, Northern Ireland. They decide to separate the islands so they don't, like, fight each other. Mediocre Wallonia does a large expand into mediocre Flanders, and they essentially just change the color. They also just fill out the border right here. They just essentially change the color of mediocre Belgium. Scottish Freedom Army, medium expand. Scotland is completely filled in, but they want to go further. They want to kick the Vikings out of the Faroe Islands as well, so they don't come back. Wales gets a turn, medium expand. Well, they don't like the Vikings, so they'll attack the Vikings too. So it's Cornwall and Wales versus the Cabbage Empire. Cabbage Empire is against all three. Jorvik is against all three. Notland, large expand. It's time. They kick out the Isle of Man from Scotland, and they just draw a line, and they say, get out of there, Jorvik, and so they get out of there. Cornwall gets a turn. A large expand. Oh no, is this the end? It's not the end, but is it close to being the end of the Cabbage Empire? Cornwall just goes along the river. Cabbage Empire gets a turn. A small expand. They're able to push them back just a little bit, but for some reason, their small expands are really large. Saudi Arabia decides to do a union with Palestine, and now they are the favorite for winning over all of Ireland. Wales, small expand. Just a general push along the front line. Cornwall, medium expand. They retake some of what they took. Trump Israel does a union. Well, it's unfortunate, but Trump buys Saudi Arabia. So now Trump Israel is now the favorite to win. Northern Ireland does a medium expand. They really only have one place to go, so they go. Wales, medium expand. It's not looking good for Cabbage Bros. Trump Israel, medium expand. They take out Hezbollah Lebanon, and also they take out, well, they cut off Ireland from the sea. Wales gets another turn. A large expand. You know, they decide to take out the Jorvik because they don't want to get, like, outflanked. So Jorvik is going to be kicked out of England. I think Jorvik still has other territories elsewhere, but they are getting kicked out of England. Yeah, Jorvik still has Norway and Iceland. They don't have anything else, though, besides Jan Mayen. Big Holland gets a turn. Small expand. Just take your fucking river and go away. Big Holland gets another turn. Small expand. I said just go. I don't care, buddy. Scottish Freedom Army splits. Well, they decide to give the Faroe Islands independence because, you know, they're good Scotland. Big Holland gets another turn. Medium expand. By golly, what do you think they do? Wales gets a turn. Small expand. They're going. Big Holland does a union with Flanders, Wallonia, setting everything back to what it was before. What a sad existence. Small expand for Trump Israel, and he kicks out Ireland. Northern Ireland is the last one left. Cabbage Empire, large expand. Okay, they decide to focus on Cornwall, and they may be able to just straight up kill Cornwall. No, but they are able to push them back into Cornwall proper, and then they push across into here. That's good progress. All right. They've reached the next river. Cabbage Empire gets another turn, medium expand. They decide they're gonna kill Cornwall. Cornwall's gonna die. Yep, there goes Cornwall. And they decide to do several pushes into Wales. They just shatter the front line. Northern Ireland gets a turn, small expand. They try and actually take actual Northern Ireland. Wales gets a turn, small expand. They encircle the Cabbage. They got a little too excited. Trump Israel buys out Northern Ireland, and it's over. Donald Trump Israel has united the Middle West. Wales gets a turn. They do a medium expand. They clean up these encirclements. They push down, and they just do a general push along there. Notland does a medium expand. They decide to start the process of integration with the Scottish Liberation Army, so they start ceding territory slowly. So this is peaceful. They're not at war. Trump Israel gets a turn. Small expand. They decide to expand further and go off into the Isle of Man. Cabbage gets a turn. Small expand. They decide to go for the heart. They're gonna try and get Wales. They're able to push pretty far into it. Cabbage gets another turn. Small expand. Can they reach the Irish Sea? Yes, they can. And if they take all of Wales, it's over. That's their entire power base. Scottish Freedom Army. There's a medium expand. They want to take out the rest of the Vikings, so they invade Jan Mayen, and they try to invade Iceland. Cabbage gets a turn. Medium expand. They're gonna take them out. It's over. Cabbage has won. Cabbage has won. I mean, they lost all of their territory, so they capitulate. Totally not me just giving turns until they win. It's my narrative, damn it. Now, a large expand, they're able to do it. They sign a border treaty with Notland to live in peace forever. Definitely. But then they turn to the south. They want the islands back. They're the inheritor of the mantle of England, so they need to go to England. And they reform Normandy after so long of it being not existent. And there we go. 255 turns, any more, and that's a stack overflow, and I can't let that happen. So if you enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. And if you want to see more Doodle Empires, let's hit 1,000 likes. I don't think I'll be able to continue this game because this game pretty much had a pretty good conclusion. There will be no part 2 of this because there's only like 8 nations left, and besides splitting, there's not really that much I can do. So the winners, definitely Cabbage Empire, definitely Trump Israel, and definitely Holland managed to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rivers. That's a lot of rivers. Anyway, leave a comment down below saying which nation you think won the best, which one you think is the true victor. Just leave a comment, just say either Cabbage, Trump Israel, and I'll be able to sort it by who had the most, and then we'll see who won. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to the channel members on the screen right now. You people help me actually be able to run this channel and also pay my amazing editor, who's probably getting sick of me calling him an amazing editor. The glazing is truly abhorrent, but it's true, he is an amazing editor. But yeah, I'll see you later.